It's me, your void. And I'm filming the intro to this video right after filming the ending to this video. I decided that I don't want to do a whole big sit-down video for my January wrap-up, so I stole a page out of Kirsty's book, and Kirsty stole that page from, I think, Brittany's book, where we all just sit down and review a book that we read right after we finish reading it. So this whole wrap-up video here is semi-vlogish in nature, I don't know. But yeah, this is me on the 3rd of February, telling you that I read some books in January. Let's see what these books are! Okay, I finished Malice by Gwynne, thanks to an Assassin's Creed puzzle that I now have to somehow finish without an audiobook, I guess. But yeah, I tried this thing where people puzzle when listening to an audiobook, and it works. I blinked and 3 hours had passed, apparently, and I finished the book without wanting to, so yeah. This is a very weird angle, let me just... Hi. You're being held up by a bunch of pens and pencils right now, so that's cool. But yeah, Malice by Gwynne. I finally finished it. Took me almost 2 months, but only because I just ignored it for like all of December. Whoopsies. I read this for the Catch Up Book Club, so I had to finish it before the second Sunday in January. I don't know what to think about this book. It is slow, and the first half, maybe even more, is so boring. I know why it is boring. We are establishing a status quo. This is like, okay, this is where we are, this is how the world works, these are the characters, these are the relationships between them. But doing that for 400 pages is kind of excessive. So yeah. The ending! Wow! When stuff finally happens, wow! But until then, it is very slow, very boring, and partially confusing, because this is one of those books where in all of the normalcy, I'm pretty sure there are things that are being seeded throughout all of this normalcy, but because they are drowned in all of this normalcy, it is hard to pinpoint them when they are not coming from the perspective of the bad guy. So, I don't know. Like, I read Malice before, years ago. I have the same feeling about this book as I had years ago when I read it the first time around. This is very much a book that sets up the rest of the series. It is very much set up, nothing else. And I do hope the series is picking up soon, as in like the next book, because I can't. If it stays this boring, I can't. And this is the second book that is opening a series of Gwynne, where it's just incredibly boring until the last 100 pages. Because I had the same thing with Shadow of the Gods. It was so boring until we hit that last 100 pages and everything just started to go into high gear and things were interesting all of a sudden. Another thing Gwynne is teaching me is I don't like Norse-inspired fantasy, or at least Norse-inspired settings. Yes, Vikings are cool, but they are not for me. I gave this thing 3.5 stars, and I am looking forward to the live show of the Catch Up Book Club discussing this one, because this was so boring that I already forgot parts of it. Like, I remember the broad strokes and the hard-hitting points, and I kind of have a good picture of who the main characters are, but of these 600 pages, I maybe remember half of it, if I'm generous. There were also storylines in there that were just strangely removed from everything else. Like, we follow Corbin for most of this book, and he's the main character. Okay, cool, whatever. He's one of the two chosen ones. No question asked about it. And we follow his sister. Okay, cool, we have another perspective on him. We follow Veridis, who is the stand-in character for the other chosen one that's there. Makes sense to have someone follow them around. But then we have Castell. What is Castell's point? He's being bullied by his cousin, and because he's being bullied by his cousin, he then joins some giant hunters. And the giants as well. Everything that has to do with the giants is just so removed from everything else. Like, you have Corbin doing his growing up thing at home with all of these characters who are important, and you have Nathair and Veridis with their daddy issues and their homoerotic vibes to each other, and they are doing their stuff over here, and that is all important. And then you just have this one guy in a completely different corner of the universe, basically, doing his own thing. And yes, he meets other characters, but he just feels so removed. I don't know what to think about. I love him. He's one of my favorite characters. I love Castell. Castell and Makeen, I love them. But what is the point of their storylines? Like, what did we set up with them that we needed all of this in book 2, you know? Because it is so detached from everything else that's going on in book 1. Malice by Gwynne, 3.5 stars. Little bit of a later update, because I finished this last night and I couldn't be asked to film it back then. I finished House of Slaughter, Volume 2, Scarlet, by James Tynion and a bunch of very talented people. It's pronounced Tynion, not Tynion, and oh my god, it's so good. I mean, I was expecting great things from something in the Slaughterverse, but oh my god, this is so good. Because this is giving Bloodborne vibes. If you know what I mean. This is so good. The Slaughterverse is now 3 for 3. I read Something is Killing the Children, I loved it. I read House of Slaughter Volume 1 and I loved it. I read House of Slaughter Volume 2, I fucking loved it. This is so good. And the ambiguous ending of like, did I understand the ending? No, I don't care. This is so good. I don't even know how to explain it. But yeah. In this one, we follow Edwin. Edwin is a red mask, meaning his job in the House of Slaughter is to collect information. He's basically keeping records of everything and learning shit and stuff. He's a scholar, not a hunter. Of course, he has his own, like, monster with him, and he knows technically how to hunt monsters, but that is not his job. His job is to keep records and to make sure that the house works, because it knows its own past and stuff. And he is sent into this summer camp island thing because there were a bunch of kids showing up with their eyes missing. So the house needed to figure out, is this a monster or is this just a weird serial killer taking children's eyes? So they sent him with his expertise. Also, he's very autistic coded. Like, he's not just autistic code, I think he is actually autistic, period. And yeah, so he's sent to the summer camp to figure shit out. And things get weird from there, which I love. Like, in Something is Killing the Children, we are hunting monsters. We are hunting monsters that have been dreamt, believed into existence by children. But this one, because Edwin, our main character, is not a hunter, we are not necessarily hunting. We are figuring out. And this figuring out and what we are figuring out is just such a mindfuck. I love it. It is brilliant. It is so good. And I mean, when you have panels like this, it's so cool. I just love the Slaughterverse so much. This one probably illustrates the most. When I say Bloodborne, this is what I mean. In terms of monsters, but also the story around it. If you know, you know. I don't want to spoil it, but if you know what Bloodborne is all about, you know what kind of story this is telling. Also, like, just the covers, the cover gallery in the background, in the back of the comic, the art style of it all is just... I am such a sucker. I am such a sucker for the Slaughterverse. I just love it. No idea if we will see Edwin ever again. Who knows? But yeah, I gave this 4 stars because it is so good. It's so weird to film a Winterween vlog and then at the same time film clips about the books I finished. So I'm basically talking about every book I read twice. So I've not been up for long, and I just filmed my Winterween update about this book, but now I have to make like a closer wrap-up. A tighter wrap-up about this nothing burger of a novella I just read. Just as in I finished it last night. Graveyard Shift by I don't care who wrote it. It's a 100-page novella, not even 100 pages. I think it's like 94 or 98 pages, so like 90-something pages. It's such a nothing burger. It info dumps the middle of the plot. We have, like, in the middle of the book, we have 20 pages that is just exposition because we have a time-traveling character and we have to have her explain why she is not in 2026 but in 1886. And this whole character is just a plot convenience because we need weapons to fight the big baddie at the end. And the big baddie, I cannot take him seriously. Like, he's supposed to be a serial killer, and then by the end it's revealed that he's a bit more than that, but there is so much potential to actually make him scary, but he's such a caricature, I can't. I just wanted to laugh at him. So yeah, that was a nothing burger. I don't even know if I would rate this 2 stars, to be honest. Like, the ideas of this whole thing were good, there's potential there, but the execution on everything was just so shit. So yeah, no, didn't like that one. It's so hard to talk about these short things without spoilering. I know this is part of of a larger thing again, and it's like basically me being dropped in the middle of it all, but from what I have read in this novella, both of these characters, the time traveler and the main guy we are following, both of them, I think, the way it is written, the way the author's note at the beginning is written, both of them show up in the rest of the series, but I'm so not interested in their story from what I've read. Also, if you write a novella and you have the feeling it's too short, don't tell me that in an author's note at the beginning of your novella. This book literally starts out with an author note telling me, hey, I wrote this novella because I wanted to write the novella because I like the character, and I'm like, yeah, cool, nice. And that's how the first half of this book reads. Like, someone wanted to write about this character. Cool. But then don't tell me that what you wrote you think is too short to publish, so you padded it out because you yourself don't like to have something that is under 100 pages on your shelf. Don't tell me that. Either you keep what you have to yourself and you just don't publish it, or you wait until you have more short stories like that on hand and you make like a collection of things, or if you really, really want that to be published, pad it out, and don't tell me that you padded it out, because that is exactly how it reads. You can tell exactly where this padding happens. Yeah, that is all I have to say about this. It's just don't tell me that. Don't tell me the behind the scenes if the behind the scenes is betraying you, I guess. I will pick something better to read now. It's been a hot second and I actually finished 2 reads since the last update, so we're going to have a double feature now, I guess. First, I finished Family Business by Jonathan Sims. This book is such a roller coaster. The first 100 pages was so slow, and you get to the point where you're like, okay, this is kind of boring. Like, at around 100 pages, you're like, okay, this is boring. Is this going to repeat on itself over and over again? And then you read page 100 to page 200 and shit just goes flying everywhere, and the horror book is actually starting to horror, and then page 200 to 300 is just boring again. I don't necessarily want to call it boring. It's not boring. The last 100 pages aren't boring per se, but they are boring when you compare them to pages 100 to 200. It's like you start out very slow, then you go and then you go, I don't know. It's very hard to describe. But you can very much put this in 3 parts. Very boring setup, amazing execution on the horror element, relatively flat conclusion. That's actually a good word, flat. Like, it's still a good ending to the story, to this specific story, but there is a point where you just tip from horror into something else, where yes, you still have your normal ass horror aspects and plot points, but they don't hit as hard as the middle of this book. And I think it's fascinating for me to say that I enjoyed the middle of a book the most, because I am a thorough Act 2 hater. In most books, I hate reading Act 2. I hate writing Act 2. But this one, Act 2 was just good. Kind of. It's the whole thing. I gave this one 3.75 stars. I don't like giving quarter stars, so I would be willing to round this up to 4 stars, but this is very much too good to be only 3.5, but too bad for a full 4 star. So it very much gives 3.75. I am very intrigued if it's just me forgetting about 13 stories, or if it's actually like a tangible shift in quality of the writing. I'm actually very interested in seeing if this is really just me forgetting about 13 stories because it's been a hot second since I read this one, or if there is like a tangible shift in quality. Not drop, but a shift in the quality of the writing between 13 stories and Family Business. I might want to reread 13 stories actually, relatively soon-ish, so I don't forget about the writing in this. And again, maybe it's just because this one reads very much like a Magnus Archives season, which like a bunch of individual shorter stories that then connect up to a bigger one, and this one is just one big 300-page story. So maybe that is the thing where things just shift. I don't know. But yeah, I need to reread 13 stories to get a better handle on that one. I enjoyed my time with Family Business. I enjoyed my time with it. And the other read I finished is Spy Family Volume 2. Fucking hilarious. Just like Volume 1. I enjoyed Volume 1 a bit more, I think, because I'm not vibing with the school setting. Like in this one, we finally have Vanya in the school, and we get a scene or multiple scenes just from her perspective, and I don't vibe with that. I vibe more with the outside of the school, but it's still funny. These children are just stupid. Love it. Also, I'm calling it now in Volume 2. The child of the bad guy that we are supposed to be spying on, I forgot his name. I don't care about his name. Desmond? He has a crush on Anya. You cannot tell me that he does not have a crush on Anya. He has a crush on Anya. I call it now. I call it in Volume 2. Also, that smile. That smile Like, Anya looks like a psychopath, and I love it. I love it. In the editions I have, the German editions from Kaze Manga, you get like bonus missions at the end of every volume, and they come with their own little colored cover inside. So I'm basically getting 2-for-1 covers, and I kind of like that. This is so funny. I love it. My favorite part in volume 2 was the story where they went to this castle because Vanya saw it on TV and was like, I want to go to the castle, I want to play spies. That was so incredibly cute. And now the brother showed up. Yours brother showed up, and I am looking forward to whatever is going to happen between that brother and Lloyd, because just look at how they're staring at each other. This is going to be very fun, I think. Gave this a 4-star as well. And that is, I think, my 6th read for this month. I am flying through books this month. Holy shit. That's a good start to a year. Very attractive angle, I know, but I just finished Spy Family Volume 3. They're getting a dog. They're getting a dog in the next one. I'm making eye contact with Volume 4 right now. The temptation is very strong. This one was 50% funny, 50% funnier? Hard to describe, but this one is pretty much down the middle, split into outside of the school and inside of the school. And again, I'm still not vibing with the children. Seeing Lloyd and Yor dancing around each other and not knowing what they are doing. Amazing. Amazing. I don't like Yuri. I don't like her brother. It's his obsession with Yor is very weird. And I mean, it's funny when a little boy says he wants to marry his older sister when he's like 5-6 years old. That is so cute. Somewhere. But this is a grown-ass man who still holds on to that. And that's kind of creepy. But yeah, 4 stars. This series continues to be amazing. It's me again. This will be the last update for this wrap-up vlog thing that I'm doing. And let me quickly check. Because I finished 2 audiobooks this month as well, which were Homo Deus and Sapiens by... what is the author's name? Yuval Noah Harari. That's his name. And yeah, technically they are called Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, and Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow. I'd like to call them Hopelessness, the book, and Existential Crisis, the book. Because, wow. Like, both of these books start out very informative. Both of the books are very informative, front to back. But they start out with, like, an info part about the past, which is easy to digest because it was in the past. Then they analyze the present, and that is where things already start to be like, And then this author just goes into speculation mode about, based on the history, based on what we have right now, these are possible futures for mankind, and they seem so freaking real and terrifying. I think we are living in the worst timeline, and if we have the worst timeline that we have right now, and we couple it with the predictions in these books, I don't want to anymore. I don't want to. I would like to restart the game, please. Thank you. So yeah, if you ever wanted really a really good and comprehensible and easy to digest breakdown of, like, how does society, why does society, how did society happen in the first place? Read Sapiens, but be aware, it will leave you terrified. And if you ever wanted to understand why, just why, then read Homo Deus. But again, be prepared to have an existential crisis. Like, some people completely lose it when they think about space and the universe and the fact that they are just a tiny speck of dust in the great scheme of things. That is kind of the same kind of dread Homo Deus gave me. It is scary. It is very scary, and I will definitely read Nexus, A Brief History of, I think, Artificial Intelligence or Technology, I don't know. It's another book by Yuval Noah Harari, and I am already scared. And that means, looking at my fancy stats over here, that I read a total of 8 books this month. What a way to kick off the year! I also, let me quickly grab that. I also made my way to, I think, 56%? Yes. I also made my way 56% into Painted Devils by Margaret Owen for Kirsty's Patreon book club. Didn't finish on time, technically, but whatever. This is amazing, as it was the first book, Little Thieves, which is on my shelves, and I expect to finish this in February, probably, I don't know, but yeah. 56%, so I'm not done yet, so I can't really talk about it. And yeah, that was my very successful start into the new reading year with 8 books finished in January, and yeah. Let me know how you kicked off the year, and if you don't have anything to say, leave a blue emoji down in the comments, given that it was the TBRathon and the TBRathon theming was all bluish. So leave a blue emoji in the comments if you don't have anything to say, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!